Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for another office hours training. It was crazy trying to get online today, and I had to reboot my entire computer. And because I always have a ton of things open at one time, it took a minute. So, thank you again for joining me for another office hours training. So, I'm Crystal L. Gunn, your financial strategist and small business advisor. And the part that I love the most about what I do is helping people to have the aha moments, self-discovery moments, helping you see what no longer serves you so that you can release it in order to thrive. All that helps with the breakthroughs. That's where the shift starts to happen. That's where the magic is, be it in your personal finances or your overall business. So today, let's talk about budgeting again. Haven't talked about it in a while because I've been more focusing on tax refunds because it's tax season, right? So I haven't talked about budgeting in a while, but y'all know I love budgeting because whether on the personal side or the business side, efficient and effective budgeting sets a solid financial foundation, allowing you to live the life that you want and or setting your business up for success. You always got to know your numbers, right? So let's go into today's topic of budgeting. Brilliance of budget. Today's topic of budgeting brilliance, mastering efficient and effective money management. Go back and watch the previous trainings on budgeting. So I previously talked about building your budget and starting with your bills, those that are related to your house or your apartment. What does it take to run that house that or wherever you live, your living space? Next, I talked about adding your loan payments to that budget and then giving yourself a break from it. Because building, if you've never done this before, or if you're using an app, technology is great, but if you're only using an app to track your expenses, those apps are typically tracking what you've already spent. They're not planning for the future, right? So give yourself a break. So if this is the first time that you're literally putting pen to paper and going through everything and putting it down somewhere, because efficient and effective budget is planning for the future. It's not looking towards, well, it's looking towards the past. It's looking to the past in order to plan for the future. So after the loan payments, give yourself a day or two. I always tell people don't try to do this in one day, because what also happens is you see things and you want to correct things. This isn't time for the correction. This is simply time for putting the money, the amounts that you spend on whatever it is that you spend on paper. When you're done, that's when it's time to take action on something else, right? But now it's just about getting the money, the information on that budgeting worksheet. So after you do the bills for your house and then you do any loan payments, give yourself a day or two and then come back to it. And then after that, it was streaming services and app subscriptions, so cable, Wi-Fi, etc. And then the things like Kindle, Audible, and then whatever type of apps, other apps that you use on your phone. It might be gaming, it might be fitness, it may be uh, social media posting apps, any of those things. You make sure you go through there, put those on your budget as well. Then came self-care and things like gas for your car, groceries, dining out, fast food, shopping, lunch during the week, entertainment, liquor, weed, gambling, whatever it is, any and all things go on that budget. These are the things, and we save them for last because these are the things that are not typically the same amount per month, right? Your house payment or your rent is the same amount every single month. Your car payment, those loan payments, they're the same minimum amount every single month, regardless of if you add extra money, to those payments or not. They're the same amount every single month. Cable is the same amount, right? Your Audible monthly subscription is the same amount every month. But when you start talking about gas for your car, groceries, dining out, fast food, any shopping that you may be doing, liquor, weed, gambling, whatever that is, those amounts vary from month to month. So you want to make sure that you go back over the last 2 or 3 months and just take an average of those. And that's that number that you're filling in that. Again, everything needs to go on your budget. So if you've been following the budgeting training, all of that stuff should already be on your budget, right? So everything that you're spending money on should already be on your budget. If this is your first time or you haven't finished that, go back and finish that first. Part of a major problem, and this is with anybody, is completion. So consistency and completion, right? You'll start a thing and then you stop a thing, or you start a thing and then this shiny penny over here happens, and now you go over here to this shiny penny. So go back and make sure you've completed that. And then take a look to what you've added to determine if anything is missing. Pull back out those bank statements, because really, you're looking at your bills and you should be able to go towards your bill, take a look at those bills and highlight every one of them on a bank statement. And then those other things, gas for your car, all of that other stuff, you should be able to highlight that on there. And nothing really should be missing, or nothing on your statement should not have a highlight if you have everything on that budget. If something is not highlighted on that statement, look at it. What is it? Right? Is it an error? Is it fraud? Or is it something that you missed? Is it a one-time payment of something that you did? Okay, what category does it fall under? What was it? So figure that out so that you can make sure that that's added to the budget as well. So now you've determined and you've completed your budget. You figured out everything that was missing. Total up all the monthly expenses and add that total at the bottom. Look at what that total is. Now it's time to add your income. So your actual take-home pay, not your gross pay, but what you actually bring home. And so some people, if you're looking at your paycheck, may have money going into different accounts, but what's that actual take-home pay before it starts being sent to different locations? If that's what you have going on, you may have, a couple $100 going over to the credit union for a savings account, and then you have the remainder in your whatever bank account that you have. So before all of those things start to happen, what is that net income, right? So your gross income minus taxes, insurance, and all of that. What is your net income? Now, let's talk about calculating the net income. So people will automatically say, they'll take their check and they'll multiply it by 2 to think about monthly income, but that's actually not accurate. So it's a couple different things. If you get paid 2 times per month, usually on the 1st and the 15th, or the 15th and the 30th, some variation of that, but it's only 2 times per month and 24 pays. So it's going to be the 1st and the 15th of every month, unless those days fall on a weekend. 1st and 15th. So that's 24 pays per month. So then you can take that paycheck and multiply it by 2. And that's your monthly net income. If you get paid every other week, that's 26 pays per year, right? Because some months you're going to get paid 3 times, right? So in order to do that and to be accurate, take that one paycheck and that net income off of that one paycheck, multiply it by 26, and then divide it by 12. That's going to let you know what your actual monthly income is over a span of the year. Now, if you get commission, don't add your commission into this, right? Because commission varies. So when you're figuring out that net pay and what to put in this budget, don't put in commission, don't put in tips. We'll do that later. You want to be able to lick, because what if you don't get any commission? or what, right? You need to be able to make sure that you can maintain the life that you're living without the commission or the tips added in. Because if you can't, that's going to give you a real clue. What if you don't get that same commission? What if it's a slow month or a slow quarter, or whatever it is, and you're not making the same type of sales that you were making prior to? Now you find yourself in a bind because you based your living based off those commissions, right? Same thing with the tips. Now, tips, you may need to use your tips depending upon what kind of job you have. If you are a waitress, typically because they get tips, they're paid less per hour. You may need those tips in order to be able to take care of your life. But I would say use whatever that hourly piece is, right? So the net income of the hourly. And then personally, I wouldn't average the tips. I would take the low end of the tips and add them to the income, right? Because again, what if you get sick? What if people aren't going out and spending the money that they used to? What happens in that with the tips, right? So if you took for 3 months, and I'm using really low numbers here, but if 1 month was 400 was $100 in tips, 1 month was $700 in tips, and 1 month was $300 in tips, you may want to take all three of them and add them together and then come up with the average. But I personally, in doing that, would say, okay, well, I'm gonna go with the $100 or somewhere between those two lower numbers, as opposed to including that very high number. Because again, what happens when tips aren't flowing that way? You can't base your living based off of tips that may not show up. So just be very, very careful of the income that you're using and understanding what could happen with commission and tips, right? Now, you have all of your expenses totaled up. You've put in your monthly net income. So now you want to subtract the total amount of expenses from your monthly net income, and you're going to get a number. Write that number down. Hopefully, it's a positive number, which means you have money left over, which means your expenses per month are less than, or is less than, no, are less than your income per month. If you get a negative number, that means your expenses are more than your income per month. And you definitely need to look at some things quickly, because if that's the case, you're shuffling money, you're being late on paying things, you are using your credit card to supplement. But so do you have money left over, or is that number in a negative? And look at the number. Whether it's a negative number or a positive number, look at the number and how does that number make you feel? Now, I'm going to give you a tale of two of my clients. Client A, we got to this point. She was, it initially was, she was $1,200 in the negative every single month. But 300 of that she was putting in a savings account that, she said, oh, I put $300 away from every paycheck into a savings account. Well, she was doing that. It was on automatic. She was doing that. But every single month she had to go get that money out of there. So technically she wasn't saving. So when we took out that $300 that was supposedly going to savings, when we took that $300 out of that budget, it brought it down to $900 in the hole. So it was 800 and some change, but $900 in the hole every single month, right? Client B, same process, plugged in income, and she had $2,000 left over from her income. When we subtract the expenses from her income, $2,000 in the positive. So we had one, $900 in the negative, the other $2,000 in the positive, right? And the reason that I say sit and look at that number, whatever that number is, be it negative or be it positive, sit with it and what do you feel? Your body has a way of giving you an idea of what's impacting you and what you may need to do differently or what you may need to address, right? So, client A, who was in the negative every single month, she was exhausted, right? And she understood, okay, well, we have to do things differently. It added clarity to her as well as to why her credit cards were again maxed out. Um, because she was using her credit cards to supplement the things because she didn't have enough money. But it also showed her um, just some other things because she was taking on new bills for things, but she didn't have the money to take on the new bills. So it also showed her where she thought she had a handle on where her money was and how it was being used. She really didn't. And you know why? Because she was only tracking her expenses, right? She wasn't comparing the two. And things were getting paid, even if they were getting paid late, even if she was paying them on a credit card, she was surviving. She was in survival mode, right? And then there were things that she wasn't doing. Why? Because she just didn't have the money. So that was client A. Client B, who had $2,000 left over, it took her into a shock. Anxiety, which led to a whole nother conversation. And I know you're saying, wait, she had $2,000 left over. That's a fantastic thing. But because we don't know how we're operating, we don't know why we do the things that we do, we haven't changed our mindset, we haven't redefined our personal financial relationships. It sent her into a shockwave, which through conversation and discussion, we realized, and I talked about this the other day, we realized that, and these, again, out of the conversation, and this is where the financial therapy part comes in. This is where the therapy part comes in. We talked about, I asked her questions, but the end result, and out of her mouth, said this made her realize she'd been living with a scarcity mindset. This is somebody who made good money, and this was just the money off of her job. This wasn't even the money that was that she made from her consulting business. This was just from her 9 to 5. So when I say whatever that number is, sit with it and look at it and pay attention to how it makes you feel. Pay attention. There's an aha moment. There's something that you're gonna feel, right? And it doesn't always make, because you have money left over. Yeah, that's a good thing. It is a good thing, but there's more to it than that. And that more to it is the thing that needs to be addressed. You get it? There was more to it than that, which then opens up a can of other things. And there was a few revelations that she had. Again, go back and watch that episode. I think I did that Monday, maybe. It wasn't yesterday. So Monday, maybe. Could have been Thursday, but I think it was like Monday. Um, so go back and watch that episode so that you can truly understand, because there were some other things that we picked up on. But one of the things, and I talk about it in that other video, but one of the other things that she mentioned and she said was, Crystal, I've never done a budget like this. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, now she uses an app because a lot of the numbers for the bills that we were going through, she was pulling out of that app, right? And so, and it was whatever app from whatever bank she banked at, right? And so a lot of that she was pulling out of that phone. So there was something being tracked, but it was tracking what you've spent, not making a plan for the future. It was only looking to the past. And so she said she'd never done a budget like that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, this budget allows me to live life. It encourages me to live. And that's what an efficient and effective budget does. That's what that financial system of success, that's an efficient and effective budget. That's that financial system of success that allows you to be intentional with your money. You're not just looking back at what was spent and then saying, well, now I can do this because this is what's left over. You're literally saying, what do I want to do? How do I want to live? and then going from that and building a budget, an efficient and effective budget based off of that. So client A, $1,000, well, $900 in the hole. We had to make that up. We had to figure out how to do that. And we were successful. There were things that we needed to do that, and here's where I talk about having someone help you out of that storm, right? There were creative things that we had to do with that home equity, but she couldn't qualify for home equity initially. So we had to work and do some things to be able to increase her credit score so that she could qualify for that home equity. She could not have figured that out by herself. She would have just continued to do the things the way that she was doing things. She would not have been, and those were her words. I could not have figured this out in order to be able to do it. So now she's no longer in the negative. She's right at even, right? And so people would say, well, wait, she was part of her fee to me. Yeah, put her in the negative, but she was already in the negative, right? But she could not have figured that out without somebody helping her. So there's power in coaching. I cannot stress that enough. So we have her out of the negative. She's even. There are some things that she needs to do, that she's missing, that we need to fill in some things. But at least now we don't have her in a negative, at least. And so now we've cleared all of the debt off of the credit cards and are going back and setting up the automation system so that she doesn't get back in this again. So that's client A. Client B, $2,000 left over. Now we need to go back and assign that $2,000 a job, right? Is it increasing what she's giving? We put it on there as tithing and giving. But do we increase that? Do we increase her travel account? Do we, right? She doesn't have any life insurance outside of work, so we're definitely putting her in a policy. But because we have such a nice amount, we can really put her in a policy that's going to benefit her, not just a term life policy, but something that she can also use as a vehicle to build wealth, and then to maybe be able to pull from it once she retires to get some income, plus having that death benefit. So because she's there, we now need to assign that $2,000 a job. Every dollar you earn has a job. So again, go back and watch those other episodes. It really is eye opening, and I know the impact of how I train on a budget, because I know the impact of that, because I know and see the impact on how seeing those numbers on paper, um, are really, how it really changes your life, but how it allows you to start to heal. Because I see that, because I know, and it's designed that way, to hear people actually say the thing and to be so truthful about it. I mean, it just did the world for me, but it also let me know that I'm doing something right, that I'm actually having that impact on people's lives, right? So again, that was huge for me. So, what's next? It is my favorite things, and real simple. My favorite things is this household budget. Now, when I'm working with clients, we do it a little differently. Well, not a little differently. We do it differently. We do it on an Excel spreadsheet, but this is how you start to put it on paper. And it's not the whole budget, but you start to be able to put it on paper. And I've said before, and even in the instructions, the link is in the bio, where you can download this. But there are line items on here that you won't have anything for. If there are line items on here and you don't have an allocation and you don't need the thing, like daycare, because you don't have children in daycare, right? So you're not going to have anything in there anyway. But you look at those line items that have zeros, and if you don't have the need for it, like it's, childcare, but let's say it's life insurance and you don't have anything allocated in there, you need to take a look back, because it's there and it's there for a reason, and you need to have it. So then you need to make sure that you're getting it. So that's my favorite thing for today. The link is in the bio. You can download it. It comes with instructions. But let's get to the next step, the things to do. And we know life is about elevation. I talk about this every single week. It's about elevation, it's a journey. And I had that same client. We had a meeting with the $2,000 remaining. Our session was last night, and it was really where we didn't do anything with the budget. We didn't. It was literally just mostly all therapy, but talking about that and talking about this continued elevation, this, you know, cycle of amazing that I call it, that you're just continuing to elevate to your next level. And that's what the journey is. That's the redefining your personal relationship. But as we're redefining her personal relationship, and several of the things, quite a few things that she spoke about last night, um, things that she just never thought about or didn't understand about herself or didn't realize, but looking at these numbers helped her and is helping her heal in those areas. And again, when you start to heal in those areas are impacting every part of your life. So when we're healing it because we've discovered it in the financial aspect of your life, right, it's also healing those other areas of your life. So life is about elevation. Again, I lead with finances, and it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Whatever it is that you need to heal didn't happen overnight, right? Whatever you need to fix, it didn't happen overnight. But the journey is so important because you learn and you heal through that process. Without that journey, you don't get that. And that's why it's so critical. So let's talk about your homework. Download the household budget if you haven't already done so, and go back and watch the past budgeting episodes so that you can get the information on how to start completing that budget, right? So, yep, that budget comes with instructions, but also watching those videos are going to be really impactful for you as well. Because remember, it's the impact, it's what you're learning, it's what you're hearing, it's how it's making you feel. So go back and watch those past budgeting episodes, get to where you need to be, and then number two, complete the budget and then add in the monthly income, and then sit with the outcome. I don't care what the outcome is, whether you're in the whole negative every month or you're in the positive every single month. Sit with it and look at how it makes you feel. Your body's going to give you signals. Your body is going to give you, ooh, does your heart start pounding? Oh my God, does the anxiety kick in? Sit with that for a minute, because those things are important. It's not for me to, when I'm working with my clients and things come up, I'm not telling them what they should feel, but I'm asking them what they should feel. When I see things and it's, oh my God, for me, when it came down to that number being in the negative, my first question is, you're in the negative this much every month. What do you think about that? How does that make you feel? And we sit and we have a conversation about that, because that's important. Remember at the top of the show, and I talk about this every episode, it's the aha moments. It's the self-discovery moments. It helps, it's you seeing the things that no longer serve you. If you don't see those things, if you're not looking at it, if you're not having those aha moments, right? Those are the things that allow for the breakthroughs, which allows for the shift. When you see that number, you know you got to do something different. When she saw that negative number, I didn't have to say anything. She knew she needed to do something different. And now, because she knew she needed to do something different, she was open. Remember, she had been surviving. So she thought she was doing the best she could. And she was doing the best she could. But now that she saw it on paper, she was like, wait a minute, I got to do something different. Okay, what do we do now? Right. And she put me to work. So that journey becomes really important. Seeing those numbers become really important. Those aha moments, helping you to release the things that no longer serve you again so that you can survive. So sit with that outcome. What is it? right? And then after you sit with that outcome, make a decision. Do something. Don't continue to do the thing. And here's the thing. There's going to be some people that have money. They're going to look at that number, client B, and there's going to be $2,000 that they have remaining. But then go back and look at what's blank, what's missing in that budget, right? Is savings and investment missing? Is that line item zero? Is life insurance outside of work? Is that line item zero? Is travel? Is that line item zero? Right? Self care, which goes above and beyond maintenance, and maintenance is getting your hair cut, your hair done, your nails done. What that's maintenance. But the other type of self care, is that line item zero? Are you giving back? Tithing, donations, whatever. Is that line item zero? Right? So just because there is a positive amount left over when you subtract your monthly expenses from your monthly net income doesn't mean there's not work to be done. Do you understand? Doesn't mean that there's not work to be done. So sit with the outcome and make a decision. Do something different. Whatever you do, don't continue doing the same thing. Don't continue living in survival mode. Don't continue um, not correcting habits and behaviors. Don't try to figure it out yourself. I always say, get a coach. I'm a firm believer, but if not me, somebody to help you, because when you're in the middle of it, you can't always figure out how to fix it. Client A was $900 in the hole every single month. She couldn't figure out how to fix that, right? Client B, $2,000 in the positive every single month. And it threw her for a loop, which then led to a whole bunch of other healing. And then there are things that still line item allocations that she does not have that she needs to have in place. You get it? I hope so. So if this information has been helpful, please subscribe to my channel and be sure to turn notifications on so that you don't miss a training. If you're in need of personal or business strategy, let's talk about it, right? And especially on this business side, if you're watching this, you have a business and you think, okay, I was looking at this for my business. Listen, if your personal finances are out of whack or off, so will your business finances be, because you're going to wind up pulling money from your business that need to be for that business to cover expenses on your personal side, and it's going to put that out of whack, right? So let's talk about it. Scheduling consultation, scheduling consultation links are in the description as well. Okay. Now, always remember, give yourself some grace. It is okay if you're not where you want to be. It is okay if you haven't saved the money that you need to save for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? To be able to live the rest of your life. It's okay if you don't have life insurance. It's okay if you don't have a will. It's okay if you don't have the powers of attorney. It's okay if your credit isn't where your credit needs to be. All of that, it's okay. What's not okay is staying in that same place because you won't schedule an appointment, because you won't see somebody, because you won't get the help that you need, right? It's even okay if you're embarrassed by it, but the person that you're going to work with is going to tell you there's no need to be embarrassed. Come on and let's do the thing. That's why I tell my story all the time. I went through my own financial storm. It's why I do what I do. It's why I had to go through that storm. And so I get it. But don't be in the same situation 6 months from now. So all of those things, where you are today is okay, but tomorrow, sitting in that same situation when you can get the help that you need, come on, y'all, quit doing that. I once had some, I once had, I spoke at a workshop, and this lady had $29,000 of credit card debt. She was working a bunch of overtime and had a mate who lived in the house with her that wasn't contributing anything and wasn't even working. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But you're working all this overtime and you can't even enjoy the overtime money because you're working the overtime to pay off all of these bills. And I says, okay, you need help. You need to call me and schedule some coaching. And she she talked about the fee. And I said, you are already $29,000 in debt and you don't know how to get out of it. So this extra little bit amount of money that you're going to pay me per month is not going to send you over the cliff. You're already over the cliff. But the thing is, you need somebody to help you, to pull you back over the cliff, because you don't know how to, you can't do it because you're $29,000 in debt. So she never scheduled, she never called. And I often wonder where she is now. This was a couple summers ago. And I wonder where she is now and what has happened, because she didn't want to file bankruptcy. And in reality, hopefully she did. But that's a whole nother story. So always give yourself some grace. It's okay for you to be where you are now. It's not okay for you to be where you are tomorrow when you can get some help. So always give yourself some grace for where you are right now, for what you don't know, for what you didn't do, for the mistakes that you made. Give yourself some grace. Keep striving. Never give up on you. Invest in you. Again, I talk about coaching. If not me, some doggone body. I don't care, but don't wind up in the same situation 6 months from now than where you are today. I want to leave you with this. The trouble is you think you have time. I keep saying there's a storm coming. Some people are right now in the storm, right? The world economic landscape is changing, and it ultimately is changing for the better. But there's some rough times before it gets better for everybody. So start working on your stuff right now. Don't try to figure it out yourself. Stop trying to do that. You've been trying to figure it out for yourself for the last few years, and you haven't been able to, and it's only getting worse. Stop the bleeding. Schedule an appointment. Call somebody today. Don't be in the same place 6 months from now than you are today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Be sure to join me for the private online Q&A immediately following. The link is in the description. And if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you never miss this opportunity. Thank you again, and I will see you on the other side.